Hey YouTube, I'm the Tall Nerd, welcome back once again. And this may not come as a surprise to anybody, but I love anime. It's so much fun, and I just love the stories and the ideas that you get from anime that you just don't seem to get in any other form or any other medium. But I have this problem because I always feel like I've never seen enough of it. I've never seen enough anime. There's always some new series that people are going on and on about how amazing it is. Or, I think I'm fairly well versed in anime, and then somebody, pulls up some series. Oh yeah, that's just like this thing. And I'm like, what? There's just so much of it out there that it's basically impossible to be caught up on everything, to have watched everything. If there's somebody out there who has actually done that, I am impressed and kind of worried for you. But that's beside the point. The point is, I wanted to remedy this situation. I want to watch more anime. But where to start? There are plenty of lists and suggestions out there if you go looking for them. But I feel like those have always been kind of hit or miss for me. I mean, tastes vary widely from person to person. So what to do? I mean, I could just go through them randomly, or instead of going through suggestions randomly, just go randomly. You see, Crunchyroll has this very nifty random button on its website. Not on the apps, at least as far as I've seen, but on the website it's there. So I figured that, why not? I'm going to give it a shot. So what I'm going to do is, I don't know how frequently I'll be doing this, probably fairly often. Just going on Crunchyroll, hitting that random button, and whatever comes up, I'll watch the first 2 episodes of that series, and then come back here, right to you guys, and let you know what I thought about it. So, yeah, and if a series comes up that I've seen before, then I'll skip it and go on to something else, which actually leads to today's topic. I hit that button for the very first time, and what popped up but the English dub of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Like I said, if I've seen a series, I'll skip it. I didn't skip this. Yup, I've actually never seen Fullmetal Alchemist or Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. And now there is a reason for this. The reason being that I read the manga all the way through. And I don't know if it's just me, but I have a really hard time watching the anime if I've already seen the manga. Just because I know everything that's going to happen. And I don't know, I just have trouble focusing on a show if I know exactly what's going to go on. And especially if I'm just waiting for those big cool moments that I remember from the manga. When I'm just waiting for those moments, it just, I don't know, can take the fun out of a series. So I've never actually watched them. But it came up on Crunchyroll, so I watched it. Or at least the first 2 episodes. Now, in talking about it, I'm going to attempt to not let my knowledge of the manga sort of color my understanding and my thoughts about the anime. Because they are different. They're going to follow the same story beats, but they are 2 different entities entirely. So, yeah, with that sort of explanation out of the way, let's start this segment. Random anime. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. So, the first 2 episodes of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood are really good and really interesting. Though the first one feels very much like a side quest. Maybe that's just because it's a story that doesn't take place in the manga, so it feels that way to me. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The story is all about the Elric brothers, Edward and Alphonse. Ed is the titular Fullmetal Alchemist. This means that he is basically sponsored by the military to do research and, in times of emergency, to come and fight for them, come and help them. But what is alchemy? Well, it's pretty simple. Alchemy is they call it science, but let's face it, it's magic. Whereby you take a material, break it down into its constituent parts, recombine it, reshape it into something else, and then reform it in that shape. So, for example, you could take a rock and reshape it into a statue, or a chunk of metal into a sword, a bunch of water into a bunch of ice. And maybe that sounds a bit boring, but trust me, it's not. It's actually really cool and really interesting, and just, it's very creative. Everything they do has to be very creative and very cerebral as well. You have to have a very deep understanding of the physics and the chemistry of everything that you're dealing with. And alchemy works on one basic principle, the law of equivalent exchange. However much stuff you start with, that's how much you end up with. If you have 5 pounds of metal, you can't make a 10-pound hammer. That's going to be important, because you see, the Elric brothers, they got into some trouble. Big trouble. Before the series began, they had an accident while doing research into alchemy. As part of that accident, Edward lost his arm and one of his legs, and Al lost his entire body. You see, this suit of armor that is Al is actually Alphonse. He's not inside the armor, he is the armor, because the rest of his body was just gone. It was vaporized in this accident. And the second episode of the show goes into the details of that accident, and it is horrifying. It is grade A nightmare fuel. But it does a really good job of showing you where these guys are coming from. So the Elric brothers, they went through this accident, but there's hope for them. Because you see, they've heard about something called the Philosopher's Stone. The Philosopher's Stone is this sort of mystical object that can amplify the power of alchemy. It basically is a backdoor that lets you get around the law of equivalent exchange. You can get more out than you put in. They're hoping that they can use that to fix their bodies and restore themselves back to normal. And that's the plot of the show, as far as the first 2 episodes go. That's all that we see. The first episode, like I said, feels a bit side questy. It's very much a one-off, but it does a really good job of introducing the characters. You know, you find out that Edward is incredibly talented as an alchemist. He also has a really short fuse. He gets angry very quickly, especially if anyone comments on his height. He also gets a little bit annoyed that everybody assumes that Alphonse is the Fullmetal Alchemist instead of him because, you know, giant suit of walking armor. Whereas Alphonse is much more level-headed, and he spends a lot of his time trying to keep his brother's temper under control. These are 2 very interesting characters, and they play off of each other very well, but they also play off of the rest of the cast very well. We were only introduced to a handful of them, and again, thanks to my prior knowledge of the manga, I know that the cast for Fullmetal Alchemist is huge, but we only meet a handful here, including Edward's direct military superior, Colonel Mustang. Mustang is a boss. He is also an alchemist. He controls fire, and he has no patience for foolishness. He gives you one chance to turn yourself in, and as soon as you breathe a hint of saying no, he just goes to light you on fire. Period. End of story. I think that's awesome. We're also introduced to a few others, like Major Armstrong, who you're probably either going to love how ridiculous and over the top he is, or just be weirded out by him. Either one is okay. Also, Fuhrer King Bradley. Those are not 2 titles. His first name is King. He is the leader of this nation. It is a military dictatorship. He is the one in charge. He's awesome. There is a lot more that I could say about it because I know what happens later, but I won't. In these first couple of episodes, he's really cool. He's really good. Especially there's one very tense moment between him and the antagonist of the first episode that's just, it's just so tense and beautiful and amazing. And it's at this moment where the music comes to a crescendo and it's amazing. By the way, I haven't mentioned the music. The music is all really good. The opening titles, it's sort of mellow and it starts to build and build and then it breaks into this really fast rap at one point. It's awesome. And then it just has a lot of sort of choral singing in the background. I don't know. I feel like I'm terrible at explaining music to people. It's one of those things that you just need to experience for yourself. And in fact, that's what I'm going to say about this whole thing. I want to keep watching Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood because it's been a while since I've read the manga, so a lot of the details are gone. I don't really remember them anymore, so it would be an awesome refresher and just to see everybody in motion. And for anyone else out there, just from the first 2 episodes, I would say definitely go watch it. This shouldn't be a surprise to people who know anime. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is, it's up there. A lot of people consider it to be really great. And yeah, I want to know a bit more about that. So please let me know in the comments what you think about Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. And hey, until next time, please have a great day.